Being good isn't good enough anymore. It just isn't. There's too many other people who are great. There's a million people with a million subscribers. You have to do something that other people aren't doing, and furthermore, you have to stand out within those people who are also doing those things that the majority of other people aren't doing. So in this video, I want to break down a few of the key important things that will help you stand out and have a look at the landscape of photography and just creativity in general and where we are today. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Sergio and I'm a commercial photographer here in Victoria, BC. A little bit more laid back today. I just wanted to sit down and relax and just talk a little bit about what it means to be a photographer nowadays in 2025, what it is that you actually have to do to be successful, and how it's never been the way it is today. It used to be enough to just expose an image because photography has always been a little bit like magic, but even more so in like the film days or in the 70s and 80s or 50s even. When you go back in time, you realize that like photography was magic. So if you were able to take this moment in time and create like a physical representation of it, that was good enough. It was like, holy cannoli, how are you doing these things, you wizard? But nowadays, everyone and their mother is a photographer. Everybody's got a cell phone. It's not enough to just be able to expose an image. If you can expose an image, you're 5 years behind your iPhone. To get to a point where you're just good enough and proficient enough with your camera, it takes a long time, and it's going to be a battle to get there. But to get beyond that and to actually make a living as a hobbyist, let's say, to convince others that you're worth their hard-earned money, you have to be doing something that they can't do. And if all you're doing is mimicking their iPhone, that's not what's going to get you booked. I know it's an easy trope, or it's an easy thing to just think about and just be like, oh, people don't book me for my equipment, they book me for my vision. And like, yeah, that is true, but it's also much easier said than done. And it's not like people just can read your mind and that people will just flock to you just because you think that way now. It's just because, oh no, now that my work is more thought-provoking, then now people are just going to throw themselves at me for what I can do. Like, no, that's probably not going to happen. We can talk about AI and how it's going to replace all photographers, all the e-com style photography and all the, just representation of an object. Like, we won't need photography anymore, blah, blah, blah. That's maybe its own video, maybe. You can be all doom and gloom about it.
What means doom and gloom?
But realistically, like next week, there's still a job waiting for you at that market, at that level, where you can make a couple $100 if you need to. You just need to put yourself in those scenarios. You need to make them know that you're the one that they should be hiring. Sure, in the grand scheme of things, maybe some of those e-com style, non-creative, just exposing an image type jobs will be dwindling away. But creativity is always going to be on the rise, especially on this world of robotic, non-creative thinking. So harnessing the creative power that you have, the creativity that's inside you that you don't know how to unlock yet, is going to be much more beneficial than trying to master whatever lighting technique that you can get eventually. Like, I went that route. When I was starting out, I nerded out about all of the little techniques and all like the little lighting things, and I can do a gradient this way, or if I use this kind of light, it's going to give me that effect. But like, it's not like it's not beneficial. Sure, I am a better photographer today because I know those things, and I didn't before. So like, I'm better than I was before because I know those things. But those things didn't help my business necessarily, at least very minuscule amount. They didn't help my business very much. What helped my business was understanding who I was and what makes me tick, what I like, what I dislike, and trying to put that into my photography. We can have a side little analogy to these comics that I'm a fan of. One of them didn't pop until like their mid to late 40s. It's not that they just became funnier at 45, which maybe sometimes that does happen to a certain degree, and you will further your skills if you're always trying to get better. But what helped them stand out was leaning into who they were as human beings, even if it didn't really paint them in a flattering light. And they were able to find other like-minded individuals that loved that they were just being authentic and true to themselves. That might have taken that 20 years of trying to be a failed comic to get there. But once they get there, once you understand that, like, oh, I can just be me and I can lean into what makes me me, and then I can put that into my work somehow, you can create like this big, I don't know how you want to call it, army of garbage that they have, the Are You Garbage guys, if you understand, if you know H. Foley and Kippy. That's just one of many examples that I could think of, like kind of here off the top of my head. But there's so many examples of people who just were at an impasse, so to speak, like aren't able to peak or get through this like next level, not able to just jump to that next level. And I think what you really need to do, it's not just, oh, I need to overwork everybody and I need to not stop learning all these new techniques, but the overworking of everybody is on understanding yourself. If you can understand yourself, you'll be a much better artist, creative, filmmaker, photographer, whatever person you are watching this. You'll be much better at it the better you understand yourself. You can even think of like the silly analogies of like, you'll never learn to love somebody if you don't love yourself. Well, it's the same thing. It's like you'll never be a great artist if you don't know what makes you that artist to begin with. So do a little bit of introspective work on what it is that you like, what you don't like, who you are, what makes you, why did you even pick up a camera in the first place, and try to look for that spark every time you're shooting an image, or every time you're creating something, or every time you're sharing something. Try to show your passion in the art. I see a lot of people making these mistakes of just kind of copying looks and copying effects or techniques or shots even from like 2019, 2020, 2021. And even though it's unique or original to you, within the ad world, we see it and we're like, oh, that looks so dated, or that looks so 2021. Even though it's very current in the grand scheme of things, it's only a couple years old. If you're still posting images that look like what we were posting 5 years ago, it's not going to attract any new customers, at least not in the bigger fields, or at least in the field of the people who are actually booking for creativity. If you're trying to be creative and you're trying to stand out, yeah, you can look at old concepts, but I would probably look at like 20 or 30-year-old concepts, not just 5-year-old concepts, and trying to recreate those, because then you just look like you're behind on the times instead of ahead on a new trend. At least if you're honest, whether it's painting you in a nice light or not, it's true to you and it's non-replaceable. I mean, I guess other people can try to copy you and be like you, but you're much less likely to be replaceable if you're just authentic and true to you. I know a million other YouTube channels that are much better at creating videos, making really nice BTS shoots, just like creating visuals that are much more entertaining on the video perspective than I can. People who make like these gorgeous reviews of lights and of cameras and like they're much better at that specific thing than I am. So I try not to compete with those channels and those people, because there's someone else that can do it better than me. But what I can do better than anyone else is talk about my experience and my story and what, challenges I came across in my photography journey, because you guys may have had some similar ones, but the ones that are unique to me are unique to me. And if you can relate to them, then great. That's more people that we can talk about in this like world where we feel like we have, no friends, or we're in like this own bubble where there's no one to relate to. And it's neat to be able to like just, I'm kind of like talking into the void, but it's fun when it lands and someone can actually relate to what it is that I'm saying and be like, oh yeah, I've been feeling that too. Because I was feeling the way I'm talking about in these videos all the time. I pull from real, not always hardships, but I guess even just like experiences that I've had throughout my journey. And it's that makes the creative individual themselves. I think if you can look at what you are, who you are, and be unapologetic about it, like don't need to be, maybe have a little bit of shame. That's probably for the best. If you're a business, remember that you're still representing your business when you're showing off your stuff, or when you're being a human being out in your community. But just be yourself. Be authentic to you, and find a way to put that into your photography. That's how you stand out. That's how you make a successful career out of this hobby that everybody is just decently pretty good at. It's not enough to just be decently pretty good at it anymore. You need to be absolutely undeniable, and then also the most creative individual that comes up with solutions to problems that people aren't thinking of yet. If you can tell clients without them knowing that you're able to do that for them, and if you can show them that, show don't tell, that's what keeps you booked as a photographer. That's what keeps you, with a camera in your hands consistently, is just being the only person who does what they do. If you're the only one who does what they do, there's not enough competition in the world that can take money out of your pockets, because you're the only person that does what they do. Focus on doing that. Anyone can expose an image. Anyone can be good at taking a pretty photo, but nobody can take the photo that you can take, or that you want to take, or that makes you happy. So just focus on that. Thanks for watching. There's my courtesy head nod. It means the video's almost over. If you have anything to add to this conversation, please let the other photographers know down in the comments below. I genuinely do appreciate you if you're still watching here. Subscribe if you're not already. You should be, but my analytics tell me that a lot of you aren't. So, or not, whatever. I'm happy that you're watching the video. Do whatever you want to do. Have a good week. I'll see you later. Take care.